All right, so we're ready to check out our book search view model in our search screen there. Of course, the first thing we will do is go to our search screen and pass that view model. Okay, so what we do, we say view model, and it knows exactly what view model we have. It's going to be book search view model. And in this case here, I'm going to instantiate it right away to say this is going to be a HILT view model as such. But there's something else we need to do. We actually have to go to our navigation, reader navigation class here, where we have all of our navigation mapped out. We have to instantiate per se that view model that's going to be passed along to our search screen. Okay, for this to work, because we have a navigation attached to this app. So if we go back to reader book search screen, if you hover over HILT here, let me make sure you can see everything. It's going to say this returns an existing HILT view model. See, it says an existing one. That should tell you that we need to have created or instantiated that view model, or creates a new one scoped to the current navigation graph. If no navigation graph is currently present, then the current scope will be used, usually a fragment or an activity. So it tells us that we need to have some sort of way to create that view model. And the best place is, the place that it has to happen is inside of our navigation. So how do we do that? Inside of our composable here, right? Remember, we're inside of our reader navigation, search view model. I'm going to say HILT. I must do this. It's going to be HILT view model, and I'm going to pass the actual class we created, the view model, which is going to be books search view model as such. Okay, so this then passing like this, we are creating an instance of our HILT view model, which we can then pass here as a view model and pass our search view model like this. Okay, we must do that. So now we go to search screen there. Where do we call it? Because we have our view model already ready to use inside of our screen. Because remember, on search here, right, we have this lambda. Let's go ahead to search form. You can see we have this on search, which we pass the item or the string that users have added into our input field, which is the search per se, right? And that on search here is called where? Here, because we pass that search query, get the value and trim around. And so we need to push get that value, and we can get that value and use it where? Well, where we call it, which is in this lambda right here. So here, this IT is going to be the search query. Search query like this. So we know we have a visual aid here. So what do you need to do here? Well, I have the view model, so I can use it, right? I can say view model. Okay, make sure to get that view model dot, and I can go and get something else I need to do. Let's go back to the view model. Notice this function here should not be private because I need to use it. I need to call it, right? So I'm going to change that to just function like this, and then go back to our reader there. Now I'm going to have access to it. So dot search books and pass, well, our search query like that. Or if I want to be more, I can say query. It's going to be equal to search query. Now we have our book list here. Let's click and see. Our book list right now just has this gibberish. But what we want to do with our book list really is we want to also have our view model. And I'm going to say it's equal to HILT view model as such. So now it has its own instance of this view model per se. Let's see if we can get some data from our view model. Copy this and comment that out. I'm going to just get rid of all of this. Let me put inside of this variable here. So I can say view models dot, look at this. I have access to this list, which you can see it's a list of item object, which is that book object, really. Very good. So if that's the case, then that means then I should have this list of books. It's going to be a list of items, right? But we're going to have a problem here because this book row, if we go to, if you hover over, it's going to say change parameter book to book row to item. And we shall do that. So now book here will expect a book item, which means then some problem will happen here because the book item itself it's a bigger object, which means, let's see, if I command click, you see the book item contains a lot of information about the book, right? So it calls other objects as well. Access info, string, most of which we're not interested in. What we're interested in is this volume object, because this volume here, info, let's go back to our code. So the volume info is that object that contains the information that we want. Title, authors, publisher, description, and so forth. So the item, again, represents each one of these items, which we call it a book, right? We would call it a book per se, but it's not really. It's a book wrapped inside of another object or that contains many other properties and so forth. So we're just going to go probe in and get what we need, which is this volume info. That's the reason why, and that's the reason why when we come back here, this is not going to work because you're going to say book.title. That makes no sense because now it's not just a book that we created. It's actually an item object. So let's get rid of all of this. I'm going to say book dot. Now I'm going to go and get the volume info because that's what we need. And then say dot title like this. And then do the same. Volume info, get the authors like that. So now we're accessing each one of these properties or fields inside of this volume info, which really is the actual book. And we can get all of these other fields, which we'll do later. But we're testing things out here to make sure, well, hopefully we see something. Okay, let's see if this works. Let's go ahead and run this. Okay. Okay, let's see. Let's go. Now you can see, first of all, this is good because that means we're getting information from the API, which is really good. So we have the authors, and some of the authors are null, non-existent. That's good. And the reason why you see it's Android for Dummies, so it's Android books related, is because we have, if you remember correctly, if we go back to our book search, we have this search book, we pass it Android. If I say Flutter, and let's go ahead and run again, you will see, we should see something different. Well, it's going to be, right, not Android, it's going to be Flutter related books. And the picture is going to be the same because we haven't really changed that much. Okay, wait, and voila, Flutter. This is good. So we're getting the correct information. We're getting whatever we're passing here to load the books, right? Get the books related to our query. Now, let's see if we add something here. I'm going to say Android again, or let's say something different. Let's say money. Just say money related books. Say enter. And just like that, ladies and gentlemen, you can see that we're able to get the information, the correct information. Now it's about money. This is great. How do we get the images then? Because remember, we do have for each book, all right, go through, and you can see we get to the image links like this. We can go and get the small thumbnail or another field called thumbnail. How do we get that image? Well, it's really simple now because go back to our reader's book there. Actually go to book row. We are hard coding our image here, aren't we? So what we can do, actually, let me get rid of all of this. In fact, let me just keep that for now. Image URL is going to be a type of string. And then I'm going to just say if, in this case, our book dot volume info dot image links. So what I'm doing now, I'm traversing through to get to what I want. So the volume, that is the book itself. I got title and everything, and I want to go and get to the images. Well, scroll down, it's going to be image links, that its own object, right? And then I'm going to go inside and get either small thumbnail or thumbnail. And then image links, what do I want? Well, let's say I want the small thumbnail. If that is empty, then means is equal to true, like this, then I'm going to just have this image because I know it's always going to be there. In fact, I'm going to actually get a different image from Unsplash. That way it's something a little bit more generic and so forth. For that book, then we're going to have something default showing like that. I'm going to say else then I'm going to say book volume info image links that small thumbnail, say toString like this. Apparently I don't have to do that. and we're going to have some kind of issues. Let's see what can we do. Let's simplify the expression. Sure. There we go. So now we have this image URL that we can pass in here. So depending on the situation, if it goes and looks at the image small thumbnail of this book and there's nothing, then we're going to just have a generic image. Else, well, URL is going to be equal to whatever we're getting from our API. Okay, let's see if this works. Let's run. Okay, let's see. And voila, there's still working because I changed to Flutter. But if I change to something else, let's say World War, not very peaceful here. Clear, right? There we go. You can see we have it. It's working. Very good. So if I say something else, software development, we should see, and goes and fetches that information. Wonderful. Well, congratulations if you were able to get to this point. This is very exciting. At least it makes me always excited to see all these things working when things are working. When things are not working, it's never exciting. But it's also part of the job of becoming a developer. It's like things will never work all the time, so we have to kind of fight for it. But in any case, this is good. All right. I'll see you next.